Hello and welcome back to Sales and Pepper Interviews. This is Dominic, your podcast host. Unfortunately, this week I was sick, so this is why I couldn't record a new episode for you guys. But I still have something for you today because we have actually started our second podcast with the Revenue Circus podcast a couple of months ago and just started the LinkedIn Lives with the ARRrtist Circus page. So I decided to release one of our latest episodes from the Revenue Circus podcast, in case you haven't heard it so far. I was actually talking to Julius, my co-founder, and we have been discussing the current state of SaaS sales. So yeah, have fun while listening to it. And in case you already heard it, then I need to ask you to wait for one more week when we'll release the new episode of Sales and Pepper. So enjoy the episode and have fun. See you soon. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our very first LinkedIn Live session for the Revenue Circus podcast. I'm really excited to have you all here today. And I'm here with my co-founder, Julius Göllner. And we want to talk about the current status or the current market in SaaS, give a little bit of an introduction about how the whole thing is related to you guys, to the sales teams and the revenue teams, go-to-market strategies. So happy to be here today and welcome, Julius.
Thank you, Dom, for bringing me here for the first LinkedIn Live. And hello, everyone. Also from my side, warm welcome. And I hope you all enjoy the summer.
Nice. So for both of us, this is a new setup. So bear with us if if it's a bit of a hassle here today. But we're trying to step up our game with the podcast. We had like a 4 weeks break in summer because everyone was on vacation. So we decided, how can we make the podcast even better with our 10 co-hosts? And we decided to stream it live on LinkedIn for you guys. So from now onwards, we will have every Thursday around lunchtime, you will see one episode of the Revenue Circus podcast here on LinkedIn, but we will also stream it on YouTube and different other channels, but you can also listen to it on Spotify. So just as a information for you guys, how we want to do the podcast going forward. But Jules, first of all, maybe let's jump right into the topic. I think we're talking a lot of times to sales leaders, but also to individual contributors in go-to-market teams. What's your perception? Like over the last couple of months, I mean, now summer break is nearly over, but how do you look at the current market? What are things that you have been looking at over the last couple of months?
Yeah. I think there are different dimensions we need to take into account, Dominic. Yeah, I think first there is like a very subjective dimension, which comes from the media, from the news, and maybe also from some very big news going through the ecosystems. And that over the last months, were probably layoffs everywhere. Yeah, we have a big problem in Germany overall, and probably every one of us knows some people who got probably lost their jobs, or at least there were difficulties. And I think this is how it is, and sometimes this news are more frequent than in others. But I think this is the media perspective. I think, nevertheless, this is a bit far off the general trend, but it nevertheless has a reason, and these are probably the public markets and money. Most of us work in SaaS companies, and most of SaaS companies are usually not bootstrapped. They are financed by venture capital, and this money has a price. Okay.
And I mean, we also have seen quite a few layoffs over the last couple of years. From my perspective, I feel like that it got a bit quiet around the whole SaaS scene in the last couple of months. There was not much of layoffs, but also not like a big, huge funding rounds. What is your perception? Like, are we getting better already, or is it like still tough times for the most startups?
I think we are getting used to a new state of mind. Yeah, where do we come from? We come from 2020, 2021, where money was super cheap, where valuations for SaaS companies on the public markets, on the Nasdaq, were super high. Yeah, usually you value SaaS companies with a multiple on the revenue. And at this time, some companies were just valued with like 15, 18 times their ARR. So then there was a crash coming. So the public markets went down. There was Ukraine war starting. We had different other topics. And if the public markets go down, so really the stock markets go down, later stage investors, which invest close to an IPO, they got, of course, nervous because on their investments, they don't get 18 times or 15 times their ARR anymore. They get just 8 times or 6 times. So they become very careful in investing Series D, Series E. And because they are getting more careful, of course, also the investors which invest in Series A and Series B get more careful. And then also the early stage investors get more careful. So you have kind of a effect and everyone really just stops or at least gets very slow. I think this happened in 2023. I think now everyone is used to this new situation, less deals, less funding, more focus on capital efficiency. And now I think from this, let's think of a bottom, we are now slowly accelerating again and we see more activities, more calls of capital and funds. So if you ask me personally, I think we have a slightly positive trend.
And like you already described it, I mean, one side is the media, one time is the funding perspective, but now we also have a lot of go-to-market people here today that actually work in sales roles, customer success roles, and so on.
Yeah.
So what do you think, like, how did their job change, but like what does this whole setup mean for them, like the market shift, like how do you perceive the go-to-market actual team changes, right? So what's different for them?
Yeah, I think this was more like an internal perspective, how your or our companies are funded, and of course if capital becomes more expensive, then people start to take a look on how this capital and money is spent. So I think the top level KPI is, okay, how much ARR per FTE can I do? And this is where a lot of venture capitalized firms were trying to optimize it. Okay, we need more efficient structures. We need more revenue per head. And one effect which we see a lot right now is like, okay, combining SDR, AE, and CS departments to a kind of an overall full cycle position.
Yeah.
Which I think on a short-term perspective, if you just take a look on the numbers, could of course make sense. You just cut costs a lot.
Yeah.
If this is really the way to go on a midterm and long-term perspective to make customers happy, I have my doubts here, I have to say.
Yeah, I feel like this is a very interesting conversation. I also was in Munich last week and went to the Women in Sales Network breakfast, and there was a similar discussion around how the full cycle sales versus SDR plus AE team setup is like how do we see in the market that more and more teams and companies are actually going to this full cycle approach. And I feel like another different component here was the role of an SDR itself. Like, how does it change over the next couple of years? Like, especially if you look at features like AI coming up everywhere, new tools everywhere. So my personal opinion on that is that we will see a bit of a change in the roles itself, so that you will have maybe also someone who's maybe just an SDR now making cold calls and sending LinkedIn outreach messages will transform into a more like a, let's say, technical role and like taking parts of a RevOps agent, for example, and make sure that you have proper setup from the tooling side, that you actually more like a pipeline generator kind of person. Like, how do you think about that?
I think in general, the SDR role is probably the most difficult one you can do at the whole go-to-market organization. And I agree that exactly this change will happen, Dom. I think we will go away from just cold calling or just sending emails or just present to, as you said, like a more complex role where you need technical understanding, where you will be at the top 20% if you can leverage the technology we are having and is developed right now, if you can combine tools, if you get smart about signals of your prospects, when is someone ready to buy. So. And of course, the one thing is you rely on your employer that he provides all the setup, which from my point of view rarely happens. Or you as an SDR, you get familiar with these tools, with these opportunities. You optimize for yourself. You think about, okay, what's the tool stack? I can do the job best for myself. And I think if you get deep into the topics and if you see the potential and you understand it, then like this kind of technology will first of all change your role, but also is a very great opportunity for your career.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I feel like also not only the role itself is changing, but also what you just described, like since the whole market has shifted and also like if you look at SaaS companies, the main ICP they had normally was selling to other SaaS companies, right? Like many SaaS tools selling to other SaaS companies. So I feel like if you look at like the market, what I've perceived is that especially when it comes to tooling, that many companies are now really looking to the money and trying to get cost effective and showing the investors that they can be profitable. So they're reducing their tools a lot. And there will be no nice to have tooling. There is always just like the tools you really need to be successful. What do you see there in the markets? Like, what would you say? Like, what are the tools that actually sales teams need to succeed?
I think first of all, I don't agree to this, Dom. Yeah? Most SaaS companies are not selling to SaaS companies. Just a very few percentage is selling to other SaaS companies. Most of SaaS companies, if you do vertical operating systems like industry operating system, horizontal, they are selling maybe also to SaaS companies, but they are selling to almost everyone in the market. Yeah. Mittelstand in Germany, industry companies, enterprises. So I think this is more like what we think is happening in the bubble, but if you take a look on the numbers, it's not. Huh? Nevertheless, of course, the purchasing behavior of SaaS companies themselves is exactly as you described. Yeah, capital is rare, capital is more expensive, so you really start thinking about, okay, what do I really need and what's nice to have? Yeah, so and of course, if you take a look on the tech stack, probably you will for the sales tech stack, you will probably go to one CRM, maybe one enablement system on top, which has a wide range of functionality, maybe signaling already, automation, cadencing, and maybe one or two other tools which really, really bring value on top, but that's it. Yeah, so the budget for the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th tool will be very difficult to get. For you, for yourself, for your team lead, but also for the CRO from the founders. And I think this is also quite difficult for people who are really operating for sales tech companies. I think this is a super tough job now.
Yeah, and I agree. I think also the tools we're using today, it's like very much like specific for a certain task. And I feel like these tools will become one tool over time. So probably also be integrated in the CRM system. So then in the end, you will have just like this one tool again, or at least fewer tools. But the cool thing about our episode today, Julius, is that we're not just the two of us. We also have people tuning in, and we've got actually a really interesting question in the chat, which I would like to share with you. And it's from Clara. Clara was asking, like what we just described, the whole shift to cost efficiency, if you would say this shift is happening due to focus on cash flow and efficiency instead of growth at all cost, or will you do you think that this grow at all cost will come back in the future? Like, do you think that we will see another spring there?
I think not in the near future, but it definitely will come back. Why? Because industries and also capital markets work in cycles. Yeah, and in economics, you usually say a macro cycle is 7 to 9 years. So we were facing times where the interest rates went higher and higher, 3-4%. If you buy a flat or a property, you have seen this. Now we already see the trend backwards. So interest rates go down. And probably in 5-6 years, there will be a point where money again will be zero interest. Yeah. And then the whole money will go to the stock markets again, and this will lead to a higher demand, and then the prices for SaaS company will increase, money gets cheap, and we are back where we are. So this will come back, I think, on a short-term perspective, and this is probably interesting for everyone who is working now in a sales job. It will not change. I think for the next 2-3 years, we will have a very strong focus on capital-efficient growth. So money is still not cheap. Nevertheless, I think it will relax more and more over the next months and years.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about trends and KPIs, Julius, I mean, as said, we have many sales people here that are used to work with KPIs. Do you see like a pattern, like what actually happened to to the sales teams and their like, let's say the closing rate? Like, how do you perceive that? Like, is it getting tougher for them to sell, or is like what kind of maybe overarching pattern do you see there in the market?
Yeah, I think if you compare last 18 months to the period before, selling became definitely tougher. Yeah, so if you started your career now, I can say it only gets better from here. What we've seen that sales cycles became between 20 and 35% longer, depending a little bit on your target company. So from enterprise to very small companies, it's a bit different. But yeah, sales cycle takes longer, and this is also reasonable. If people really take a look on their budgets, then maybe budget borders. 2 years ago, the CRO could make a green light for a 20K purchase. Probably now the CFO says, man, you can do 5, but above 5, I will take a look on this. So, and then you have more stakeholders involved, more people taking a look, different requirements, which leads, of course, to longer sales cycles. So yeah, this takes longer. Longer sales cycles means higher involvement, higher costs. So the deals, customer acquisition costs became higher. Also, quota attainment, because of this macro trends, fell down significantly. So if you are in the position where you didn't reach a quota, you're not alone. Almost 85-90% had the same problem.
Yeah. And I mean, looking to numbers, I feel like what was also quite interesting, we were lately running a poll on LinkedIn and asking about the ratio of salaries, like how much is the split between base salary and commission, because I feel like there's always like people talking about this from time to time, but I think the benchmarking is very much like difficult, because if you're talking to some AE from Salesforce, of course, they will have like a different salary than someone working for a 3 people startup, right? So I think what was quite interesting to see there, and I feel this changed also a bit due to the factors you mentioned already, is that more and more companies are going to the 50-50 split and literally say, okay, you will have 50% base salary and 50% commission, and like less companies going to, I think the highest or the lowest ratio was like 70 to 30 split. What do you believe? Like, is this going into the right direction? Because I felt like a couple of years ago, my like the offers I got from headhunters was insane. Like, they went from 100K to sometimes it was like 200K within 2 months, and they was just throwing money at all the salespeople. But then they normally didn't succeed because the OTE was quite high, but it was just impossible to reach a target. Like, what do you think? Like, is this like a healthy development you're seeing here?
I think in general, it's from a company perspective, it's logical that you try to increase the share of the target of the variable component. Why? Because if then targets not come, you don't need to pay out, which helps you with capital efficiency. Yeah. So I think historical wise, on the AE side, it was always around 50-50. On the SDR side, it was more 70-30, maybe 65-35. Yes, of course, if money is super cheap, you try to grow as fast as you can. Every euro in revenue you can get, you try to get, and you're also willing to throw money on people, because usually if you have a sales-led acquisition strategy, you usually scale revenue with people. Yeah. Now I think this changed. Yeah. So you're not willing to pay €4 for €1 of additional ARR. You maybe even not willing to pay €3 or €2. Yeah. So you try to optimize. So I think, the variable component will be higher, but also I think the targets will be more realistic, because if you are working in a company, it's not helpful if the CFO plans X, the sales leader brings this X to the team, and then you just reach 60% of the target. Everyone in the company will get problems, reporting to your investors, reporting to... So there is an interest that targets are setting realistically, and we also went through a process the last, I think, 9 to 12 months where people recognized, okay, the targets we had are not realistic anymore. It took some time until they have been corrected and new set. I think this is still happening, but a couple of companies went through. So I think also targets are more realistic going forward, and then also quota attainment becomes more realistic.
Yeah, I agree with that. And talking about new targets, Julius, I mean, we both working hard for making 2025 Circus already a big success. We're currently speaking with a lot of new speakers, actually aiming for over 200 speakers for next ARRtist Circus. Are you already excited? I mean, it's still a few months ago for you and me, but what is it that you are most excited about next year's event? Maybe you can share a bit about that.
Yeah, as you see, like just getting a bit of goosebumps. Think about it. I mean, I'm always excited, yeah. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you for everyone who came last year, following this a bit crazy idea of building a circus. I think for next year, I think we need to all think in as teams and holistic, yeah. So if you work in a revenue function, it's not sales only, and it's not only SDRs, it's not only customer success. It's like really a team effort of partnerships, ref ops, SDRs, AEs, customer success. So first of all, I'm excited that we like really widening a little bit the roles and have more tracks next year. I'm excited about the fun factor of next year. I think people who last year came kind of with a dress or a costume are super brave. Yeah, going to a business event which never happened before with an outfit. I take my artist cap. I think next year it will get even more crazy. And I think, of course, we also made some learnings in terms of quality of speakers and quality of content. So I think also we will be even more aware of like who will get a speaker slot, more aware about the content we like to discuss with all of you. So yeah, I'm also very excited about the quality increase on the speaker side.
Yeah, me too. And I feel like we already got a few like really interesting speakers also from UK and reaching out from US that wants to speak on ARRtist Circus. So I think this is a really exciting development I see there. But also to all of you guys, if you have something that you're currently struggling with or you want to learn more about, then feel free to approach us, tell us what you want to learn, because in the end, we still have a few months to go and can definitely take a look into the topics that you would like to see there. Sonia's actually just commenting the outfits were amazing at ARRtist Circus. So I feel like that was actually quite fun. I agree. So also people were quite open because of the dresses and sharing their knowledge. And I feel like, also the feedback we got was so positive. So I'm really grateful for everyone who was there. Looking forward to everyone who wants to come next year. And you should definitely follow the ARRtist Circus page, because in the upcoming weeks, we will share way more about the upcoming agenda. So you can also check who's speaking at the event. You will see what topics we have. And as Julius said, we believe that go-to-market is more than just sales. So we also decided to offer 2 more tracks next year. We will have a revenue operations track, because we believe the tooling part is becoming more and more important. And we maybe also talk about this in a few seconds. But also that the partnership side is very important, right? So I think partnership sales, I see this a lot in the last couple of weeks, that companies thinking about new ways how we can win new customers. And I think the partnership channel is quite still underrated, but it's a huge opportunity for many companies. So I'm really excited about these new tracks, and I feel like this is going to be quite cool. Talking about tooling, Julius, I think one thing I would love to round the episode up with is the whole AI discussion. And I feel this is also going to the RevOps direction here. How do you believe, like, how will the roles of the teams change in the upcoming years when you look to AI? Because I feel one question popping up more often is like, will AI replace my job? How do I use AI? So it's like people are a bit confused about how to use it and what to use. What's your opinion on that topic?
Yeah, I think it will not replace your job. Definitely not. But of course, your job is at risk if you do not accept that this is a powerful technology helping you doing your job. It's like believing in horses when cars were invented. So maybe you choose a car to drive longer distances than instead of horses. I mean, one thing which I think will always be present, and this was quite unclear over the last 12 months, is like, okay, will calls be done future-wise by AI completely automated? Because the technology is always already there. And last week in the US, there was kind of a foundation decision that automated outreach by AI via phone calls will be forbidden, and like also linked to very high penalties, which means if you want to do cold calls and reach your customer on a personal side, humans will always still be in the loop. Nevertheless, of course, AI is powerful to be used in different stages of the funnel. Yeah. So, as I already mentioned, automation in terms of written outreach is nothing new. We do this with LinkedIn automations, email automations for the last 10 years. With AI, of course, you can do this way more personalized, taking like hundreds of individual factors into account. This will be, I think, a powerful tool for the next 2-3 years. But of course, also the channels will get saturated. Yeah, you will get more and more emails, more and more LinkedIn messages. So I think this will not last super long. Of course, AI will help you in identifying customers. So, like really using big data to understand when is a customer with a high chance willing to buy at all. And I think this is something which is super difficult to do on a manual basis. But if you have this set up in the right way, I think this could be super powerful to prove your demand generation and opportunity generation. So I think this is the point where AI can help a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like also, Sonia also commenting on it is one part in the whole AI topic is the whole like trigger-based outreach points, right? I think that's exactly what you just mentioned is like how can we not only use AI for text and generating email texts and so on, but like connecting the dots and like through the sales funnel from outreach to actually closing the deal. And I see more and more tools also popping up that are not focusing on like text-based AI, but more on the data part is like, how do you actually move your deal forward? Like an AI in your CRM system. Yeah. What kind of, let's say you are using a framework like Medic. What did you ask in the call? How can you actually move the deal forward? What kind of questions should you ask in the next call? So really like let's say like a coach or like someone who's with you in the deal, kind of a pre-sales person, yeah, like helping you with the whole deal. But yeah, I feel like this is very exciting times. I feel like the jobs will change a lot over the next 5 to 10 years. I think now it's like maybe the first hype is over, but I also feel like that there's much more to come, and also many jobs maybe just don't exist nowadays, and we will definitely see a change here in the upcoming years.
But I think this is also super exciting, Dom. Yeah? Like changes bring also opportunity. So if you're really at the front of the wave and you get into it now, I think you will be the first person to be hired for kind of a new designed position, for a new designed role, which is always like super. I mean, I think it's super fun, but it's also like a super big opportunity in becoming a specialist in something new if you're just earlier. So I can only encourage everyone getting into the shit, get your hands dirty. And as always, 10,000 hours make a difference. So if you invest 10,000 hours now, I think it's a quite cool investment over the next years.
Yeah, absolutely. Julius, we're already talking half an hour closely, but I know I would like to ask you, like, how would you sum this whole discussion up? I know, like, is there anything you would recommend to people listening in today? What's your advice? Like, how can people stay positive, reach their targets? So what should they do to look forward to this, let's say, tough times? Yeah.
I think first of all, if you are in software sales, you are on the right ship. Yeah. So only in DACH, Statista expects a growth in software sales of 50% over the next 4 to 5 years. So it's an upcoming market still. Digitalization is on your side. Salaries will be high. There will be high demand for jobs, for qualified talent. You're on the right ship. Yeah. I think nevertheless, of course, it's tough right now. So I think developing yourself further, trying new things, getting out of your comfort zone, thinking about new concepts, maybe also a change in position or company is something you should consider. But overall, stay positive. Yeah, I mean, there's one quite interesting and cool statistic I found a couple of weeks ago, which analyzed the correlation between depression and things you can do against depression. And the highest positive correlation against any bad state of mind or depression, I'm happy to share this afterwards, is dancing. Yeah, so dancing by far has the highest positive effect on people who are depressed or in a bad mood. So if it's tough, I would recommend to dance more.
Yeah, that's a great advice. And that's why I'm also looking forward to ARRtist Circus 2025 even more, is we will make sure that you can dance a lot, learn a lot, and have fun, network again. So thanks a lot, Julius, for being here with me and sharing these insights. I think it was a great first episode. Looking forward to the next one. And yeah, so make sure to tune in next week, Thursday, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, everyone, for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.